Hello again, and welcome back to another edition of The Wiccan Conservative. I apologize. Last week I was supposed to finish wrapping up for you the January 6th odds and ends, and I got a surprise visit from my parents. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to finish when I wanted to, but we are going to go ahead and wrap it up today with a couple new insights that I found and the overall arcing point of this video series. We are back on American Gulag, and the face on your screen might be a little bit familiar. This is John Sullivan. You might remember that John Sullivan was the activist who showed up at the Capitol and filmed selling his footage to CNN for $90,000. Not only was Sullivan the centerpiece of a lot of disagreements on whose side he was actually on, Sullivan also ended up facing 8 charges for his involvement in the siege, centered around an allegation he instigated rioters so he could video the violence for later sale to the news outlets. The film he produced on this occasion and released to YouTube was noted for its documentary and evidentiary value. Not many people knew what happened to John after he sold his footage to CNN, so whenever I found his name on the agenda schedule for pre-trial conference tomorrow, I found it very intriguing. John Sullivan is actually facing charges, granted that he was there documenting and capturing footage for the news outlets. He will be showing up in a pretrial conference center in courtroom 24. You can also go to American Gulag and look up the individuals who are coming on to their trials as well. There's an entire list. One of the main concerns for the Americans who are watching these trials take place is the length of time that is passing in between the charges and the actual trials taking place. We are told that we have a right to a speedy trial and that we have certain due process rights as we go through these issues. But as we're finding out, there are many ways to delay the speediness of trials and turn it around to make it look like the defendants are the ones who are requesting more time. And in a lot of these cases, they also have to sign the waiver to the speedy trial rights so that they can collect the evidence necessary for their own defense. This also raises an issue with the footage that John Sullivan captured. We found out that the FBI came back and seized the $90,000 that CNN had paid him for his footage when they disappeared all the January 6th independent video from the internet. But what does this all mean? Why are we going through these great lengths to obstruct these people from justice and keep this going on as long as possible? The establishment has been so obsessed with keeping Trump out of office. Donald Trump has been in a lot of legal issues in the past year. But the January 6th defendants seem to hold the key to whether or not they will end up being able to charge him with inciting an insurrection or some sort of treason that would bar him from having a viable campaign in 2024. As provided in this article by 1945, January 6th probe looking at Donald Trump post-election fundraising. Another new report says the special prosecutor looking into January 6th is concentrating on fundraising claims made by Trump's organization that claimed the election was stolen. That means that the prosecutor is going to start looking into individual donors. So when the special prosecutor sends investigators to an average American's house to question the amount of donations that they set forth to a campaign or maybe even to a January 6th GoFundMe page, and they start telling them that they can get into trouble for it, what do you think the average American could potentially be swayed to do? That would be to cooperate with the prosecution and their investigation to save their own skin. The legacy media would have you believe that the January 6th protesters were attempting to overturn an election, and that's simply not true. The January 6th protesters went there to address their grievances to their government at the most appropriate place, and that would be the people's house during the proper time. That is when they were certifying the election results. The runaway narrative that the protesters were there to cause an insurrection, overthrow the government, or to infiltrate the system in some sort of way is not only disingenuous, but has started this fanfare of treasonous claims. And that's exactly how we got the prosecutors taking the leaders of the patriot groups and charging them with seditious treason in order to get a higher charge than what they actually did in showing up at the House of Representatives addressing their grievances. Prosecutors are reportedly focused that Trump and his campaign made false claims about the election in fundraising appeals, something that very well may have been a crime. The Washington Post reported in mid-April that prosecutors in the office of special counsel Jack Smith sought a wide range of documents related to fundraising after the 2020 election. His advisors said that Trump may have scammed donors by using fake claims about voter fraud to raise money. So not only do they want to kill the voter fraud narrative, which again, I've told you since the beginning, this is not about Dominion machines. This is about homegrown fraud in your own election departments and legislative sessions. But I digress. These people are trying to make it sound like if the donors gave money to Donald Trump, that he would be able to buy his way into the presidency. But you and I both know that that is wholly inaccurate. So not only does the special prosecutor need the American people to rethink the choices that they made in supporting Donald Trump, they must also make Donald Trump's actions and words after the 2020 certification look like they were treasonous in some sort of way. And once the court of public opinion has turned against Donald Trump, then it will be smooth sailing for the prosecution to get him into a jail cell unless he pardons himself. This article from Raw Story: Jack Smith holds the keys to blocking Trump from a self-pardon. Digging deep into the Constitution, Wells suggests that should special counsel Jack Smith indict Donald Trump for his part in leading the January 6th insurrection, there will be nothing he or even President Joe Biden can do about it via the pardon. As she wrote, the charges in Trump's second impeachment provide a roadmap. Quote, no court has yet considered the question of whether presidents can pardon themselves, even for crimes committed in the Oval Office. Article 1, Section 3 of the Constitution states of impeachment, which is the most apparent remedy for presidential wrongdoing in office, that the party convicted shall nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment, trial, and punishment according to the law. But what they fail to realize is that there is no special indictment for a president or special rules for them to go through the procedure of the trial. They are held to the same standard as every American citizen. And in order for a president to pardon somebody, they have to be in office. And you can't be in office if you are convicted of high crimes or treason. So I'm really confused where they even get the concept that a president can pardon themselves, other than the fact that they are completely terrified that they will not be able to make their charges stick in a normal due process court proceeding. And if you still weren't convinced that all of this was connected, let's take a real quick look at the USA Today headline. Would a code of ethics fix the Supreme Court? Some raise concerns about enforceability. So this means that the special prosecution in the DOJ is covering their bases on all levels. They are thinking about the potential possibility of Trump being able to pardon himself from any type of existential charges from any of the 3 to 4 states that are attempting to prosecute him. But once his cases go through the system and become appealable, what is going to happen as they rise up and through the system? Trust and do not fear. They thought of that as well. So they are working right now on quote unquote fixing the Supreme Court in their favor. And they're even suggesting a now code of ethics about enforceability on Supreme Court rulings. I wonder if they would take that into reconsideration if they were reminded about the Roe decision. But I digress. They are pulling out all the stops and they are going to take down every supporter that doesn't want to flip on Trump with them. The coming crisis over pardoning Donald Trump by Politico. Now that the criminal justice system has begun bringing charges against former President Donald Trump, it's only a matter of time before he gets convicted of something, somewhere. And as soon as that happens, the next question to face our political system is, will he be pardoned? Well, I happen to disagree with that statement. If we continue down this path of aggressively and excessively charging a former sitting president, is that the most we have to worry about, whether or not he will pardon himself? Or should you be more concerned with, can it happen to me as an average American citizen? Is it already happening to average American citizens? And Democrats, will it happen to your president next? On that note, that's all I have for you guys today, and I will catch you guys on the next one.